Nicole Scott here for Mobile Geeks. Last week I put up my video review of the ASUS Zenfone 2, and in the comments there were a lot of, "Hey Nicole, how does it stack up against the Zenfone 5? So I decided to make you a comparison video. Let's get right in. So let's start off with the basic specifications. On the Zenfone 5, we have a 5-inch display, 720p IPS panel. It's got a PPI of 294, and it has a relatively low screen-to-device ratio at 64%. Under the hood, we have a dual-core Atom, that's the Z2580 at 2 GHz. Now it comes with 2 GB of RAM and 16, 8, and 32 GB of storage as options. Also comes with the micro SD card, and then let's check out what the basic specs are for on the Zenfone 2. So it is a bigger device at 5.5 inches. It comes with a 1080p display, also IPS. It comes with a PPI of 403, and the screen ratio is much better. So you can see that the bezels are a little bit thinner, so it's about 70% display to device ratio. Under the hood, it runs a much bigger processor. It's a quad-core Z3580, and it comes with two RAM options, 2 or 4 GB. The 2 is running at 1.8 GHz, and the 4 at 2.3. So it comes with 16, 32, and 64 GB storage options. Also comes with a micro SD card for expansion. Now, the biggest difference is not going to be so much in UI performance, because as you kind of go around the devices, the UI is nice and smooth. I'm a big fan of Zen UI on both of these devices, although I do feel that in terms of brightness, the Zenfone 5 does crank it up just a little bit more, not by much, but just a little bit more. And the 4 GB of RAM on the Zenfone 2 are going to make a big difference when it comes to gaming and multitasking, but I have the 2 GB version here. Now, battery life is going to be a huge difference between these two devices. So the Zenfone 5 has a 2110 milliampere battery, while the Zenfone 2 comes with a 3000 milliampere battery, and it also comes with quick charge. So this means that if you use the right charger and the right cable, you can charge your device basically to like 70% in half an hour. So that's actually pretty good. Now, the other main difference between these two devices, well, obviously the width, because this is 5.5, this is 5-inch, but it's the camera and the volume button placement. So the volume button's here on the back, whereas on the Zenfone 5 it's on the side, and along with the power button. And on the Zenfone 2, it's up here at the top, which, to be honest with you, design-wise, I've never been a very big fan of this, because the device is a little bit long, right? So you can't really turn it on with one hand. One good thing about this is that you can double tap to wake up. So at least there is that. Now, when it comes to the overall design, we have kind of a faux metal finish here on the Zenfone 2, whereas the Zenfone 5, it comes with this great kind of ceramic finish that feels like almost soft touch. Yeah, this comes in a nice purple. These also come in much different colors. I had the red Zenfone 6 as my main device for quite a while. Now, when it comes to the camera, there's a big difference. This is a 8-megapixel shooter. This is a 13-megapixel shooter. Now, they both have the same Pixel Master technology, but when it comes to dealing with brightness and backlighting, I just found the Zenfone 2 did a much better job at dealing with backlight in photos. So I have a couple of sample photos that I can show you here. So if we take a look at these two photos, you can see that the sky here on the Zenfone 5 is washed out, whereas here on the Zenfone 2 we have like clouds and blue. So also here on this photo you can see that it does a better job of picking up the highs and lows, whereas this doesn't really pick up much of the kind of mist that's coming out of these machines. So now when it comes to indoor lighting, the Zenfone 2 actually looks like the camera has a little bit more pop when it comes to taking a photo of this shoe. So now what about selfies? This is a Zenfone 5. I think Beautify's off on this one for sure, but you can see how close it is to my face. Now here we have the Zenfone 2. The Beautify is on, but you can see how much more room I have. And that's because the camera has this function, which I think is great. So, there's me. And so you can just pull this out. And it's 5, 4, 3, cheese. So there you go. So this kind of gives you a countdown, and I think it's really great. Now, the Zenfone 5 just doesn't provide you with that. Now, the weird thing is, so let's put this on. Okay. Let's turn beautification on. So now it doesn't, see how close it is? It's just really close, and it doesn't, you can go even closer. I don't know why you'd want that. But it's just for selfies, it's just not as intuitive, like straight up. So that's the front-facing camera. So this is 2 megapixel, and then this is obviously 5. It just gives you, like, it's just so much better. If you're looking for a camera and you want selfies to be a big part of it, this is, like, it's just enormous, the difference. All right, now let's take a look at the rear-facing camera. There's not that much difference in terms of what you get features-wise. You still get the low light, although it's 2 megapixel on this one and 3 on that one. And you get miniature, depth of focus, all smiles. The one thing you don't get is you don't get time-lapse. So that's the hyperlapse thing that everyone's freaking out on the iPhone. And there's also super resolution, which, to be honest with you, I don't think makes that big of a difference. So it's supposed to make things a lot sharper. So now let's just do another one. See, it takes forever to take the picture. There we go. So let's just put this one into auto. So, I mean, the Zenfone 2 camera just comes with a whole bunch of other stuff. So this is regular. Pretty good. This is super. So I guess you do get a little bit more detail. There's regular, super resolution. You know, for as much as people have been asking about this feature, I don't really see what the huge deal is with it. So now one thing that people are always asking me is how quickly does the focus work? And how quickly are we able to snapshot? So I'm just going to put all of this into auto. So you can see that it is slower. Definitely. So, should you get a Zenfone 2 or should you get a Zenfone 5? If price is no object, Zenfone 2 all the way. You get a better camera, better battery life, better processor, bigger display, better display. I mean, everything about this phone is better, but it costs you more. It's about $50 more. Zenfone 2 is a mid-range device, so it's actually comparing ASUS's kind of high-end, or their high-end, to their mid-range device. Now, the Zenfone 5 has more questionable build quality. Like I showed you, if you push on the back of the display, you can kind of see some marks. Now, I have done a lot of talking to some friends who own this device, and it hasn't become an issue. I always thought that overextended use, that might actually wear on the display, but it doesn't seem to be. But I'm glad that they fixed those issues with the Zenfone 2. So ASUS has actually taken all of this learning from building a solid mid-range device in the Zenfone 5 and put it all into the Zenfone 2. Now, I prefer the design of the Zenfone 2. I like this volume button at the back, though I do wish they'd given it more features. They could have put in the ability for me to launch separate apps from it, or to do exactly what I want with it, and not just have it be a volume button or a camera trigger, right? The UI, the same. The camera features, not the same. You get time shift on this. You get slow motion. You get a better a way better front-facing camera. If you're into selfies at all, there's absolutely no question that you pick up the Zenfone 2. If you like taking photos of yourself, $50. What's $50? Just go and get the Zenfone 2 over the Zenfone 5. This is not a selfie machine. Like I showed you, not so sexy, can't really take photos with friends, a little too close. So if you like selfies, throw this one out the window. So that was a kind of quick and dirty comparison between the Zenfone 2 and the Zenfone 5. I have been using the Zenfone 2 as my daily device for about 3 weeks now, and it does get me through the whole day. The Zenfone 5, when I was using it as my daily driver, I had to be a very light user. So big differences in day-to-day performance, right? If you are even a moderate user, you have to step up and get the Zenfone 5, or Zenfone 2. Zenfone 2. Okay, so Nicole Scott here for Mobile Geeks. If you have any questions and want to see any further comparison between these two devices, hit up the article because I've actually put in a lot of the photos comparing them and some close-ups of the devices themselves. So Nicole Scott here for Mobile Geeks. You can follow me at Nicole_Scooter. And if you're not subscribed to our channel, what's your problem? Just do it.